Welcome back to Getting Personal with Plant Medicine. I'm your host, Diana.
And I'm your co host, JR.
It has been a minute since our last episode, hence why I said welcome back.
It has been.
And we appreciate your patience if you have been with us this whole time. We just took a brief hiatus. And we did that because things are going to be a little different going forward, in a good way, I would say. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Getting Personal with Plant Medicine is now a branded podcast brought to you all by Christopher's Organic Botanicals, which is our favorite Kratom company.
Yeah. We have loved them for a very, very long time.
Yes, this is a very exciting partnership.
Yeah.
It's very aligned.
Indeed. But just so you know, we're not going to be changing a whole lot of stuff up. I mean, it's still the same getting personal with plant medicine. We are going to focus once a month on an episode of Kratom, which is a direction we were going into anyway. Because even going back to our very first episode of this, Kratom was really the plant that introduced us to plant medicine and really began to change our lives.
Yes, it's the plant that changed it all.
Indeed.
And unfortunately, there is a lot of stigma around this plant. I would say probably more than most. And that stigma is unwarranted because it's steeped in misinformation and misconceptions. Whole leaf kratom can potentially provide so many benefits, and today we're going to talk about how it can help folks who have PTSD in honor of Veterans Day. But it's also important to acknowledge that non veterans, or civilians as the VA puts it, deal with PTSD as well.
Yeah, and also just real quick, I
Mm-hmm.
say this almost every episode, we're not medical professionals, so obviously you still want to talk to your doctor and stuff like that. Also, due to the Shea laws, we can't necessarily be like, oh, this is going to cure this or whatnot. We can basically just speak to what we have seen, different studies, and what could benefit you in an overall wellness capacity. Today being primarily focused on PTSD.
Yes. And so, what do you want to talk about? What are DSHEA laws, just really quick, because some people might not know?
Oh yeah, it's basically with the shea, it's for like supplements and stuff like that. Basically saying that if something is not FDA regulated, you can't really use it in like medicinal terms. You can't say like, oh,
This
this
cures
this
something.
cures things or
Hmm.
this treats things. You have to say like this promotes a sense of well-being. You can't say like this cures or treats depression. You have to say this promotes a feeling of well-being or a sense of well-being. You can't say this helps cure or treat insomnia. You can just say this helps promote a state of relaxation and rest. So basically, just we have to not say that anything cures or specifically treats something like a synthesized medicine would or something that's FDA regulated would. It's more of like a promotion of well being.
Yeah, so it makes it difficult for companies like Christopher's Organic Botanicals because he can't say
Yeah.
this is used to treat this. Well, I
Well,
mean, we
and
will say it can help with things. We can
it
say
can help
that.
with things, but the thing it's like it's really a catch 22 because like the funding isn't there for the research to be able to prove that these things actually help. Nor will it ever be because large pharmaceutical companies will try to block that.
Hmm.
So it's really just a way to kind of feed more money in the pharmaceuticals because things that will actually benefit you and help you can't be promoted to to do so or guaranteed to do so.
Right, and up until recently, kratom suppliers couldn't even say a recommended dosage
No,
or
yeah.
say that things were meant for human consumption, which some people found laughable, but it's not funny because it really does change people's lives. I mean, we can attest to that.
Well, even when we first started taking it, remember it was being promoted as incense.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, and we were like, "What? Like
Yeah,
we're drinking this? Like,
right.
what do you mean incense?"
Yeah,
But that was just the only way they could actually be able
sell
to
it.
sell it.
Hmm. And so, speaking of government, um, according to the VA website, PTSD is slightly more common among veterans than civilians. At some point in their life, 7 out of every 100 veterans, or 7%, will have PTSD. In the general population, the people who aren't military members, I suppose they
Yeah,
mean by that,
civilians.
civilians, 6 out of every 100 adults will have PTSD in their lifetime. PTSD is also more common among assigned at birth female veterans, 13 out of 100, or 13%, versus male veterans, 6 out of 100, or 6%. And there's a note here saying that they are learning more about transgender veterans and those who do not identify as male or female, non binary. So we don't have the numbers on that just yet, but it is interesting to see how common PTSD is in both veterans and non veterans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very legit. Anytime someone goes through something that is horrific or traumatizing in their mind, it creates a lasting imprint.
Yes, I'm sure there are a lot of people
Yeah,
dealing with that right
I'm
now.
sure there are. Yes.
And especially people who are working for the government. I mean, there are a lot of vets in
Yeah.
government, so I'm sure right now is a very triggering and trying time. And so, we're not saying that kratom is the end all be all. It's not a cure all. It's not even the only plant medicine that we would say should be in your tool belts. But let's talk about how it can be
Yeah.
beneficial. So, one of the main reasons that it can help with PTSD is that there are sedative properties to kratom, at least with the red and green. Now, I have found in my research, and we'll touch on this in a little bit, some people prefer white
Mm-hmm.
for PTSD or anxiety. Personally, I cannot because everybody is different. Everyone has a different reaction.
Exactly. There are people that actually get more of a sedative quality from white, and some people that get a more energized, sensation from red. First you have to kind of look at where the plant comes from. I mean, the plant is related to the coffee plant. So that's where you start getting your veins from. It's really the age of the leaf. Where you start off with the white vein is at its youngest stage, and it's going to be closest related to like that coffee family, where it's going to be that upbeat, stimulated kind of sensation. And then it takes it through green and then all the way to red is at its oldest stage, and that's where you start getting that more kind of sedative, relaxed, kind of helping you guide into sleep sensation. So like the older that the leaf gets, the plant ages, the more it kind of removes itself from that stimulated coffee sensation that you get with like the white vein.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. I just learned something.
Yeah,
But, again, to speak to how different everybody is, you can drink coffee and go to bed, and I
I don't
cannot.
have. Yeah,
I mean, I used to be able to, but now that ever since I had a child, I can't do that anymore. Um, and so it is really interesting to see how certain people prefer the white or yellow. I've never even tried yellow.
well, yellow wasn't really a vein. That's just how it's kind of cured during harvest. It goes through like a special lighting procedure to give it like that yellow sensation. It's not a vein. Most of the time, it's a cross between white and red.
Oh, I didn't. Again, I didn't know
Yeah,
that. That's so interesting.
yeah,
I was gonna say because I don't really see. I also just learned that you could use the stem part of kratom if you want like a less potent, the stems and the basically like trim. That's
yeah.
what I think
Like
of
trim.
like with cannabis, like how you can make hash butter out of your trim. It's kind of the same thing for people who are afraid of possibly having some type of addiction, having
Yeah.
a dependency on it. But I will say this until I turn blue, there is a difference between physical dependency and addiction.
Yes.
And so, to that point, one of the other reasons why this is particularly helpful for people who have PTSD is that a lot of times those people are dealing with some type of pain,
Yeah.
whether it be physical or mental, but a lot of times the physical and mental intersect, and having the pain can trigger
Absolutely.
episodes and make it way more difficult to sleep, to
Yeah.
get through the day. Um, and so to me, that's one of the biggest benefits is the pain relief that you can
Absolutely.
find.
You're gonna get that mostly with the green and the red. I don't really do white because I don't really like. I can drink coffee. Like stimulants don't really do anything for me. Probably probably because I have really bad ADHD. But it doesn't like give me that alert sensation. So a lot of times with PTSD, a lot of people will lean more onto like a red or a green because both red and green offer more pain relief, where red can be more sedative, more calming, which kind of helps relax that stress or anxiety. Green gives a little bit more of a daytime kind of euphoric sensation. So you add to that euphoria, it's not that super alert that you would get from like the white. With white, you kind of get that focus quality. And a lot of times when you're dealing with something like PTSD, heavy amounts of anxiety or stress, the last thing you really want is to zero in and focus in on that's causing you that anxiety, which can be triggered with something that's such a high stimulant.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. McCurdy, or Dr. Christopher McCurdy, I should say his whole name, he's been researching kratom for a long time. And he has stated many times that kratom has a much lower likelihood for any type of abuse, especially when compared to opioids and pharmaceutical
Yeah.
pain relief options. He also says that kratom has, like you said, I don't even know how to pronounce this, adreneric, it's a stimulant properties, and serotonergic, mood enhancing. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of all these words here. And I know how to pronounce analgesic, pain relieving, and and anti-anxiety.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say anti-anxiety because I can't pronounce the other word, activity. And those are all the things combined, I feel, that you don't get in a lot of other options when it comes to pharmaceuticals or even plant medicine.
No, it's kind of like one or the other. You kind of pick between, what you want to kind of steer your journey uh, with medicines, where you do get more of like all in one kind of shopping situation with Kratom or Kratom. I can just go off of what I've seen, where I've known people that served in the military that suffered greatly from PTSD, and Kratom was really the only thing that truly helped them, because you could drink Kratom and you would still maintain the authenticity of yourself. You didn't get intoxicated. Um, you didn't disassociate. A lot of times things that are used to treat PTSD can still have dissociative properties behind them, where you disassociate, uh, or you get, inebriated, or anything that could possibly happen when you are trying to work on yourself, through PTSD without using
Those can make you
synthetic
shut
forms.
off instead of tune in,
Exactly.
basically.
Where with
And
Kratom,
kratom
they
can
were
help you.
able to
Yeah.
maintain their authentic selves.
Hmm.
They were able to still, you know, socialize, you know, be out and about, have fun, drive, not be inebriated, but it still helped calm that PTSD.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a lot of stories on Reddit of people using all different types of strains and going from taking like bruferin, and I said bruferin, bruferin, benzos. Let's just
Yeah.
say that. They've gone from taking benzos to using kratom, and it completely changed their
Yeah.
life.
And
And
I mean, talking about like addiction, benzos along with alcohol are the only two substances that you can actually die from the withdrawals from.
yeah,
Your body starts to go into seizures and you can die. That's why if anyone is ever on benzos, or either if they ever want to come off of them, they actually have to slowly step down. And that's why during the pandemic, a lot of liquor stores were deemed essential, because if someone
it's
is
dependent on.
dependent on alcohol, and then those liquor stores were forced to shut down, they could die from the withdrawals. That just shows how of a heavy hold things like alcohol
And
and
Xanax.
benzos. Xanax is a benzo,
Yeah.
can hold on to people. So when you're looking at things from a harm reduction standpoint, even, something that can add benefit that isn't going to have such a strong hold on to you. Really, kratom is amazing.
I mean, speaking from a personal standpoint, I was coming off of Xanax when I found Kratom. And I think that saved my life. I think if I hadn't had that,
Yeah,
and I didn't even know. Like, I
we
didn't
didn't
even
even know
know.
at the time that that you could die from the withdrawals of
Well,
Xanax.
or about the benefits of kratom. It was
Yeah,
just one of those things where it was the universe was like, this is what you need right now.
right.
And now I'm learning, I'm still learning all these years later more and more about it. But at the time, I just thought, wow, this is making me feel a lot better.
Yeah, for real.
And, Dr. McCurdy has stated that it can help with the withdrawals. And so, to that point, I wouldn't recommend trying it on your own. If you are taking some type of medication that you think might have an adverse reaction with kratom, or if you're afraid to use it on its own when you're coming up, like trying to titrate down, right?
Yeah,
Consult your medical professionals, if you feel like there's a
yeah,
possible risk there.
yeah. And also, I mean, it's important too to be to feel safe with your medical professional. Some medical professionals um, are very, I guess, hip, without lack of a better term, to plant medicine. Where some's just discount it.
Hmm.
So make sure when you're talking to your medical professional that they are someone that takes plant medicine seriously. That can actually give you advice and won't just discount you and say, "Oh no, we're just up your dosage of this."
And you can also consult with other doctors
Yeah,
that aren't in your direct network. I mean, I'm not saying that you can see them and have insurance covered by it. More
yeah,
so like hire them for consultation. Like Dr. Peter Grinspoon is one. He's written about kratom pretty extensively. Obviously, we just mentioned Dr. Christopher McCurdy. He's not a medical doctor, but you can read a lot of his work and kind of like see all the sides of it on your own,
yeah,
and try to determine which path you want to go, like which way you want to go with it. And we will link those in the show notes, those two doctors, because they are really good resources.
yeah,
Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of research about kratom, period, which makes it difficult to have conversations like this,
yeah.
because people are just going off of the headlines that they see that are fear mongering and misinformed. And so that can make it difficult, especially when you're curious about it and you don't
Yeah.
really know where to begin.
Especially now because everything is so AI driven. You Google kratom, and the first thing you get, if you like type in, for instance, kratom for PTSD, will pop up. You're like, oh, some people use kratom for PTSD, but it's not recommended that you ever use kratom. Kratom is dangerous. All these things that are AI driven.
Hmm.
And a lot of times when people Google things, they go off of that first statement that's right on top of the page. They might go down one more page. And unfortunately, a lot of times people are left to, in order to get like real information, relying on going on things like Reddit or something like that. Because a lot of doctors that are pro kratom or plant medicine, they get pushed way down in SEO, where like, other pharmaceutical companies get bumped up to the top. So they really have to search out looking for what can benefit them. And when you have things like kratom, especially for PTSD, and you want to get an answer or a direction to go into, it can be difficult
I mean,
because
when you like any kind, well, I shouldn't say any type of plant medicine, but particularly the controversial ones, quote unquote controversial. I don't think they're
yeah,
controversial, but some people do, such as cannabis. If you try to search cannabis on TikTok, it
yeah,
will try to give you advice on going to a rehab or
yeah,
to speak to a professional. And if you use the word cannabis or kratom on TikTok, spelling the way it's spelled, not
yeah,
like adding numbers and things like
yeah,
that into it, then you will get shadow banned. And I've seen many other Kratom influencers have their content deleted, banned. I've seen their accounts get shut down, and all they're talking about is how it helped their lives. They
Yeah.
they aren't selling it. They aren't, even saying you should take this.
Yeah.
they're not they're not doing anything that's illicit on screen.
Yeah.
They're not even consuming on screen most of the time,
Yeah. Well, also, because, and it's important, like with cannabis, with plant medicine that offers different effects dependent on strain or vein. With kava is always going to do the same thing. There are different islands that the kava comes from that offers a slight variance, but it always delivers the same effect. Where with cannabis, you have indica versus sativa, heavy on certain cannabinoids, terpenes, all these things that steer the journey. And the same thing's going to happen with kratom. I primarily use kratom A for pain relief, but also because of struggling with depression. So I have a tendency to lean towards green because it adds that euphoric aspect to it. It's a mood uplift. It helps with depressive episodes. I don't want to go into white because stimulants don't really affect me, and I don't want it to amp up my anxiety. If you're looking for something that's more pain relief, if you have trouble falling asleep and you need that pain relief, you want to go red. You don't necessarily want to go green
Well,
because you.
some people like green
Well,
for
I
that
mean,
as well.
it's person to person, but
Right.
you need at least a starting point to start from to go and to explore your journey. If you're looking for something that's going to offer pain relief and you just buy kratom because you don't know where to start and you end up with white and it's not going to offer that pain relief, and you're like, what am I even doing? This isn't doing what I thought it would do at all.
Hmm.
But sometimes maybe white is more what you need. If you have pain issues and you have a hard time sleeping, like people with PTSD can, and you need something that's going to help wake you up in the morning, that's not going to get you jittery like coffee or whatnot, then more of a white would be more beneficial for you. So you need to have proper education just to know where to start and begin your journey.
Hmm. And yeah, like you said, it's important to understand how it affects people differently. I was recently on the Kratom Stories podcast with Madeline, and she said that she only uses green, and she can use green to go to sleep. And I've seen other
Hmm.
people in her.
I can use green to go to sleep.
Yes, I'm getting to that point
Yeah.
now. But for a very long time, I only used red. Now, the other part that I think is really important that Christopher brought up on social media, Christopher from Christopher Organics Botanicals, I
Yeah.
should make it clear because I just mentioned another Christopher
Yeah.
earlier. Um, he mentioned that you should try to mix it up as often as
Yeah.
possible. Use different types of veins, use
Yeah.
different,
That
maybe
also
if you
that
can handle red and green, alternate.
that also helps decrease any kind of dependency.
Hmm.
Because the same thing happens with cannabis. You
Or
get,
substance abuse.
well, not just substance abuse, but like with like cannabis, you can get strain dependent.
Oh, right, right, right.
Where you kind of get locked in on like a certain strain, and when you pull yourself off of it, you kind of, I don't like to use the word withdrawal necessarily, but you feel a certain way. When coming off of that strain, the strain stops really benefiting you as much because get used to it, but because your body gets used to it, it goes through a period of time of discomfort when you stop using it. So the same thing can happen with the veins of kratom. Your body just gets very accustomed to how it feels off of that vein. So if you do mix it up, a little bit, it decreases that possibility.
And speaking of cannabis, the thing that I find to be really beneficial about kratom is how well it works with other plant medicines, and how other plant medicines can make the benefits more pronounced.
Hmm.
Like like cannabis, if you are a cannabis user, kratom pairs very well with
Hmm.
cannabis, for a variety of reasons. Like particularly with me, it helps really boost the digestive benefits of both plants together.
Hmm.
I have Crohn's disease, so it's always a struggle. And having those two plants in my life has extremely changed, like massively changed my approach to my digestive health because it's a lot more manageable now
Yeah.
with both of those in my life. It also really, both of them help with my anxiety together.
Yeah.
But I also like to add other things. Obviously, we have this is our fifth season. I've
Yeah.
talked about a lot of other plants. Another one is akuama seeds, which are very similar to kratom. So if you are concerned about substance abuse or any type of addiction, um, you can add that into the mix to kind of stretch the dosage a little bit further, not take as much kratom as you might
Yeah.
need to on certain days. Um, there are a lot of options out there. And I think, it's also about timing because, like you mentioned, kava, and you use kava
Yes.
and kratom
Hmm.
every day, but you don't use them at the same
I don't
time.
use it at the same time, because I use them essentially for different things. I use kava because I do have really, really bad anxiety. I have panic attacks. So kava calms me down from that. But for my depressive episodes, I go more towards kratom or kratom. So I'll generally
Just like kratom.
okay. Just don't want to ruffle any feathers. Um, it's just that I've been saying kratom for like 14 years now, so it's hard to like steer away from saying it that way. But I'll take kava, and then a couple hours later, I'll generally take the kratom. I never really take them together because I want to get the benefit of each one separately because they do offer different things. Uh, but I do think that they pair very, very well together. For someone like me whose parasympathetic nervous system is shot, you know, I can have like really high ups of anxiety, which causes me to then crash down into depression. So having both of them kind of work together to stabilize myself really is very beneficial for me.
Do you want to talk about how kratom is a kappa antagonist? Did I say that right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's actually why it has the potential of treating PTSD. Stress itself triggers kappa um, agonism, which releases a chemical called dimorphin, which then exacerbates like your existing stress. So basically, it kind of creates like this negative feedback loop over and over again, which causes like that perpetual sense of anxiety, and kind of adds to like that post traumatic stress disorder where you get that trigger of something and you're reintroducing that stress over and over and over again throughout prolonged periods of time, years, decades, a lifetime. Um, so, as Kratom being a kappa antagonist, it kind of like shuts that loop off.
Absolutely. And a 2016 case study by Dr. Andrew Krugel and his team at Columbia University, published in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs, investigated kratom's effects on veterans with PTSD. So there is some research out there. The study found that kratom significantly reduced anxiety, depression, and insomnia with participants, reporting improved relaxation and a better quality of life. So, I mean, there are some little studies here and there. I think that we are eons away from where we were when we began our journey personally.
Yeah.
As far as people being out there, there are a lot of stories on Reddit. There are a lot of stories on TikTok, even though TikTok keeps trying to shut people down.
Yeah.
Instagram's even worse. So I wouldn't even try that.
Anything that's attached to Meta is gonna be
Yes,
bad.
yes. So there are so many different forms of education. And also, one of the reasons why I'm so excited that we're partnering with Christopher's Organic Botanicals is because he provides so much education on his
Yeah.
website and through all the other work that he does. He hosts weekly tea talks with his customers. And anyway, I'm going to let him say a little bit about himself and our new recurring, I'm saying
Yeah.
recurring before it even.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, every time he's not on the podcast, because I'm not always going to be here. So anytime that that I'm here and Christopher isn't, he's going to have his own little segment, which is called
Christopher's Corner. So get ready for that right now.
Hi, I'm Christopher Deaney, founder of Christopher's Organic Botanicals based in Salem County, New Jersey. I started this company out of necessity and heart. After being hit by a car at 8 years old, I lived with chronic pain for decades and was prescribed opiates for 15 years. Eventually, I did find a better way, a natural leaf from Indonesia called Kratom, or Mitragyna speciosa. Kratom gave me my life back. That's when I saw how much misinformation surrounded Kratom. I made it my mission to create a transparent, honest company, one that respects traditional usage, supports Indonesian farmers, and gives people safe, lab tested access to this natural botanical. That's how Christopher's Organic Botanicals was born in 2016. Our ethos is simple: people before profit, plants before pills, transparency over trends. Every batch is tested 3 times: at the source, by our co-packer, and again by independent U.S. labs. You can view all the results for yourself at christophersorganicbotanicals.com. If you're new to Kratom, check out our Kratom sample pack. The perfect way to explore different strains and find out what works best for you. And if you care about keeping natural Kratom legal, follow the ongoing legislation surrounding synthetic 7-OH and pseudoindoxil. But make sure these law protects the natural Kratom and doesn't punish honest consumers. Support the American Kratom Association and get informed at kratomanswers.org. Again, I'm Christopher Deaney. Thank you for standing for truth, nature, and the freedom of choice. Together, we can keep this leaf safe and available for generations to come. Visit Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com or call 609-202-6880 or 856-581-1265.
Getting Personal with Plant Medicine is brought to you by Christopher's Organic Botanicals and is produced by Your Highness Media.